I told you I was in those riots, those racial riots, and then it's my own people who I had to fight on a regular basis and had to. And I can remember a time where I had a homeboy steal from me. And for me and any other individual who was stiff in prison, it was almost as if I had to fight him every time I saw him. And I didn't even care. I'm going home in 6 months, right? I'm going home in 5 months. I just got done doing 5 years. I didn't really care after the first fight. I didn't get my stuff back. So as me in my position, a man in prison with the authority I had, every time I saw this guy, I had to strap up.
Welcome back to the Invest in Yourself podcast. Today I'm joined by JereMy Rankins. Jeremiah goes into his early life about getting in trouble with the law and catching 2 felonies. While Jeremiah was on the street, he got away with a lot of crime, but he did end up getting caught and went to court and ended up getting 5 years in prison. During his time in prison, he got in a lot of prison fights, and there was a lot of other things going on while he was in there. One thing he did decide to do was make a change with his life and enroll in college. After he decided to make that positive decision in his life, it became a snowball effect and it got bigger and bigger. He has accomplished a lot since he got out of prison, and you will hear a whole lot about it today. And without further ado, let's get into Jeremiah's story. Also, please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel to get more podcasts like this. All right, welcome back everyone to the Invest in Yourself podcast. Today I got Jeremiah on today, and today he's going to share he's going to talk about his redemption story and what he's got going on today. You may have seen him on a podcast called Fresh Out, and he's been doing a lot of good stories, and I mean he's got a really good redemption story. So how you doing today? I really appreciate you taking out the time, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. I appreciate the opportunity. Anytime that I have the opportunity to share my story, bring light to, the situation of how you can go to prison, still get out, and have a successful life. Speaking with the utmost humility, I feel like I've done that. And so to be able to share that with other people, family members who have loved ones who are in prison, it brings hope, inspiration, and so that's what I like to do.
Yeah, well, I think it's really good and really fitting with the whole, message of my podcast, the Invest in Yourself podcast. And, you are investing in yourself today by what the program and everything that you're running. So I think the best way to, really get into your story is by starting at the beginning. So what was life like for you growing up?
Yeah, ironically, I came from a good start. Two-parent household, both biological mom and father, and a nuclear family home. So I had one older brother, and it was just the four of us: mom, dad, my brother, and myself. And we had a good start. Well, I take that back. So we were living on the south side of San Antonio, Texas, really bad area. Our house got broken into. My dad said, "You know what? We got to do something." So she sent my mom had reached out to her sister, my aunt, and they sent us away for about a year. When we came back after that year, we had a bigger home, a much larger home, and a much better area. And that's where I like to think that I got my start at 6 years old. So, it's funny looking back at it, all the opportunity and the chances that I had to, have a good life and do better for myself, but I chose a different direction. So in elementary school, it started off with behavioral issues, class clown, ripping and running the streets in the classroom, tearing things up. So I had behavioral issues in the classroom and in the community as well. And I was just very disruptive, talkative, doing things without thinking, very impulsive. And at middle school, it began to get a little delinquent. So I started stealing. Kids would go to PE. I would go to the locker room and I would steal their boots and put it in my locker, and then it just progressed from there. It went more delinquent when I was a junior in high school, where I caught my first felony, burglary of a habitation. And so I had visited this guy's house. He was a friend, but he wasn't a friend. And he had all these things. He was spoiled. He had all these games, PlayStation 1. I don't know what it was back then in 2002, but he had the latest tech, all this stuff. So while he was at school, we skipped school. We went to his home and we broke into the home. And the police were called out. Some elderly person who was retired looked out the window and saw us sneaking around the back. So they called the authorities and we got arrested. So at 17, I caught my first felony, breaking into people's home. And, I thought that would fix me. I laid on that county jail, an adult jail. I was 17 years old, and I was, praying to God, if you let me out of here, I'll never do it again. You know how that goes. You get out, and like 2 months later, I was back at it. But I'm grateful because that's what I got caught for. I got caught burglarizing. I got caught robbing a Target store. And so, I was doing much more. I was selling crack cocaine. I was selling crack to a friend's father. I was doing some really wicked stuff, really wicked stuff. I can remember a time where I was breaking into a home. We knocked on the door, rang the doorbell. The dog is barking super loud. Surely nobody's home. And we go into the home, we break into it, kitchen window, we break the glass, and we climb through the window, and we're rummaging through the stuff. I got the DVDs, I got the PlayStation, I got the TV. Everybody's calling out what they have before we start packing up and leaving. And we go upstairs, and there was this door closed, and we're tiptoeing. And we turn on the hallway light, and we get ready to open up the door. So we open up the door, fling it open, and we turn on the light to the bedroom. And it was a family of like five in the bed, and they were just sleeping. So it was,
Damn.
yeah, so it was a heavy set guy, his wife, and three kids, three little ones in the bed, you know? And that could have gone wrong so many ways. It could have gone wrong, right? We could have hurt them. He could have hurt us. So many things could have gone wrong. And that's one instance. But I've got more stories similar. I've got about two or three stories similar to that. They just didn't wake up, and we went into the home. So at 19 years old, I ended up going to college. I was on probation. I ended up going to college, and I did 1 year, first and second semester. And that summer, I got arrested. And I got arrested because earlier in the school year, in November, I came home to for Thanksgiving holiday. I didn't really want to. I didn't do holidays back then. I just wanted to work out. I played football. And so we came home, and we went into a Target store, and we went in there looking for laser pointers. So keychains, laser pointers. We were, still kind of mischievous, and we'd point the laser pointers up there at the sky, at the helicopters. I'm sorry, we went in there for a police radar, a scanner. So whenever we're going to college and he's driving, um, we can speed, and then whenever there's a police officer, we slow down. It was one of those police scanners. So that's what we went in there shopping for. Two college students. We weren't, we didn't have the money to pay 70, 80, 100 plus dollars for these police scanners. So we decided to leave. And on the way out, we saw these cool keychains. And these keychains were laser pointers. So we were like, man, let's get this stuff. Boom. So we snatched up the laser pointers, and we started to walk out the store. It said, stop, target security. And so me and my guy, we looked at each other, and we already knew it's time to run, right? Like, we're not, okay, we're going to go back in the store, and no, we're not doing that. So we ran. So they they upgraded my charge to felony robbery by threat. And so I went to prison for that because I was already on a probation. And so they sent me away for 5 years for that. I think, I don't think prison was the right place for me. I was a mischievous kid, but at that time I wasn't burglarizing. I wasn't robbing anybody. I was just, college student who was playing football, and I messed up when I came home. I messed up. And I don't think prison was the right place for me. I think that if they gave me the option, hey, you sign up for the military, go to the army for 4 years, get your life together, or you go to prison, I think I would have chose the route to go to the army, right? And I probably wouldn't have had any hiccups the rest of my life. But
Was I was going to say,
nevertheless,
was there any other charges that you had besides those two then?
no. I mean, all the other ones were like, they dismiss.
Oh, okay.
What is it? Evading arrest on foot, so running away from the police. They dismiss
Damn.
that.
So
They
straight
dismiss that.
prison for Target. Then after
Yeah.
stealing
So,
those. Wow.
yeah. So because I violated my probation. It was a
Right.
felony probation, burglary of
Hmm.
a habitation. I picked up another charge. They enhanced it to robbery, so they can do
Oh,
that. Yeah. So they can do
okay.
that. So although it was technically a theft, they enhanced it because I was already on a felony burglary probation.
Yeah, I
So
guess
that's
that makes more sense. Yeah.
hmm hmm So, I went away for 5 years, and again, I felt like I shouldn't have been there. Although I've done many things, right? Things that I did not get caught for. I felt like, maybe this is, payback for everything that I've done. This is my payback. So that's how I took it. Yeah, so that's how I received it. And so while I was in prison, I studied Spanish. I learned Spanish, how to speak Spanish at a very moderate level. Like I was pretty good. I was I was able to speak Spanish using old retired textbooks from the 1990s. Ven conmigo. I used those textbooks to teach myself how to speak Spanish. I learned a lot about politics, our judicial system, of course, the different branches, right? And so I started studying. And then I went back to college and took more courses. So, I told you I went from the football field, college to prison in one summer, and I got a lot of my basics out the way. So when I came home, I could go straight into, my core classes. So, I decided as soon as I went to prison, how do I market myself to when I come home, I can still have opportunity to be successful? How can I position myself now so when I come home, I can hit the ground running? And and that's what I did. That's basically what I did. I used my Spanish to build relationships, build rapport, right? This black guy is different. He's cool. I like this guy, right? And so I used a lot of code switching, and I was able to, position myself to where I am in the place I am today.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting that you're able to learn Spanish and just kind of really educate yourself in prison because that is a rough place to be in, especially, I mean, just really trying to, it's a rough place to be in because, I mean, you're trying to sit there. I mean, was it rough for you to, I mean, how was the environment for you? Was there a
Oh
lot going
man.
on, violent and everything?
Man, one thing that I hate about prison is the racism. I absolutely hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Whether it's blacks hating, in the state of Texas, the two powerhouses are Hispanics and blacks who are incarcerated, right? And so I'm only going to speak to Texas because that is what I know. If I speak outside, they're going to be like, oh, well, you don't know. This is how it is over here. So I'm only going to speak to Texas. The two powerhouses are black and Hispanics, and they butt heads, right? So you get the black TV over there, you get the Hispanic TV over there. And so, it was always confrontation. I was in two riots. I've been stabbed twice, or three times. And I just hated that atmosphere. I absolutely hated. And that was the biggest takeaway from prison for me, and the hatred amongst minorities. And then, you know, I told you I was in those riots, those racial riots, and then it's my own people who I had to fight on a regular basis, and I say had to, and I can remember a time where I had a homeboy steal from me, and for me and any other individual who was stiff in prison, it was almost as if I had to fight him every time I saw him. And I didn't even care. I'm going home in 6 months, right? I'm going home in 5 months. I just got done doing 5 years. I didn't really care after the first fight, but I didn't get my stuff back. So as me in my position, a man in prison with the authority I had, every time I saw this guy, I had to strap up. And so, you know, several fights, it's been stabbed more than I would like to, quite a few times. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the mentality of the criminal, the culture of the criminal, and so it really helped me in who I serve today. You know, I have a contract with the Department of Family and Protective Services, CPS. And one of the main reasons why I was so adamant at getting this contract is because 85% of Black and Brown boys who age out of the system, really people in general, boys and girls, who age out of the system, so 18, they age out of the system, they're 85 more times likely to go into incarcerated facilities like psychiatric units, jail, prison, or homelessness after they age out of the system within 3 years. And so that population was something that I really wanted to hone in on to stop the school to prison pipeline, stop the pipeline of us going to prison.
Yeah, I mean that is a really big part of something that you really wanted to be a part of because I mean you went through it, you experienced it, and you've seen a lot of the guys in there that were in there that you could relate to. I mean, did you see? I mean, personally, did you see some of that mentality of like these guys that may have been in those group homes and stuff? Like, did you
Yeah,
witness some of them, or were you able to really notice that at the time?
yeah. So just by listening, a lot of them came from single parent homes. A lot of them come from underprivileged, poor neighborhoods, communities. A lot of them came from the foster care system or were in foster care at some point in their childhood. So there was a commonality amongst the population of the black and brown kids who went to prison, black and brown men who went to prison. And the other is gang involvement and or affiliations.
Right. And then for that commonality, joining a gang was like, what was that? Why did a majority of them join a gang, would you say?
Well, I feel like so for the Hispanic community, it's kind of different, right? It's kind of different. So I'm gonna only speak on the Black community because I don't want to misrepresent someone from another community, and then they come after me for that. So
Right.
let me speak to the Black community. A lot of times, it's about power and respect, and at the end of the day, it's money. Money motivates us in general, everybody. But for a lower income, a poor person, a man, a boy who wants to get money, they look for the quickest way to get it, whether it's robbing, stealing, selling drugs, and gangs do a lot of crime to get money, whether it's robbing, shooting each other, things like of that nature. Money is the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate motivation for their criminal behavior. And so there's more that goes into it. I wrote a book on how to turn your minor setbacks into major comebacks. And there's a specific, I think, two parts in the book where I talk about the issues and how we can fix them in our communities.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, it's definitely money is always going to be a motivating factor for a lot of crime and just any kind of gang involvement. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I mean, they always say it's just kind of the rule to all evil, but I mean, really, when it comes down to it, it just money's the motivation for everything. You really think about it in this
Hmm.
world. That's just what it comes down to.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I mean, you can break it down to a mother, a father, a nuclear home. Money motivates you to provide food. Money motivates you to provide health care, right? A roof over the head, a lifestyle that you want to live. If you want two cars instead of sharing one, like money motivates us to get out of bed and take care of our responsibilities on a daily basis. Now, when you break it down for someone who is underprivileged, you know, these people don't want to work at Wendy's or they don't want to work at, you know, your local Big Lots or Walmart and get less than 40 hours and, paycheck to paycheck. They want to live this lifestyle that is on their social media's timeline. And when they're taking these trips, when they see these people taking these trips and wearing these nice clothes and wearing these chains and we can get into the rap music as well, like just the lifestyle that's glorified. They want it. You're not going to get that at working at Walmart for less than 40 hours, even more than 40 hours a week. How are you going to get this lifestyle that you see on
Mhm.
social media? And so, yeah, it's just a different ball game.
Yeah, and what do you think about like I mean the rap music like does it affect a lot of the youth then? Because I mean you work with youth, right? I mean that's your whole thing now is from minor to major, right? Working with this, so like how does that affect that? Because I mean I grew up listening to it as well. I mean
Hmm.
and I mean yeah I got into some trouble and stuff, but I mean I grew up and now I know that yeah, a lot of the stuff that was being said in the rap music and the stuff was, yeah, a lot of bad stuff. And now I know, like, okay, yeah, it shouldn't have probably been said, but now I'm able to decipher. Yeah, I wouldn't do these things that these guys are saying in these rap songs, and I know it's wrong, but like, I mean, I'm sure you as an adult know that too, but like, I mean, when you're a kid, you think it's cool and stuff like that. But I mean, how do you feel about it?
Well, first and foremost, it would be a whole podcast and a half to really talk about unpacking rap music and its influence on the Black and Brown community. So we can talk, a whole episode and a half on rap music and how it impacts the Black and Brown community. Like, there's so much that goes into it, but there's two main things that I would like to point out, and then I'll go into the micro. So at the macro level, music is probably one of the most influential, um, you know, parts of our culture across the world. Okay, music gets in our spirit. If you think about Native Americans drumming, right? Drumming, they have the drums. They're jumping around. They're dancing. No offense. You think about Africa, drums. They're dancing. It's a part of rituals, funerals. It's a part of marriages. Way back when, before we had music studios, music is the biggest part of our culture. Okay, period. I don't care what color you are, nationality you are. Rap music is the most influential genre of music across the world. Country music is my favorite. Country music is my favorite now since going out of prison, since leaving prison. Country music was became my favorite genre while I was in prison. So I had a
Yeah.
I had a Mexican celly put me on it. Just listen to the words, celly. Just listen to the words. And so I listened to the words, and it brought me to tears. And listened to a couple more songs, and that was a wrap. I love country music. So leaving prison, that was my favorite genre. But
Wow.
anyways, so with rap music being the most influential genre of music, it gets, and I said music gets in your spirit. This is a spiritual thing. Okay. Um, as a therapist, as a clinician, I can say use music as a coping skill. Whatever mood that you want to be in, that's the type of music that you want to listen to. It works. So on the flip side of that, getting more micro and more detailed, when a kid is getting, or a group of kids are getting ready to do a drive-by, which I did when I was a kid, we're not listening to country, we're not listening to gospel, we're listening to gangster bang bang trap, shoot 'em up, drill music, rap music. That's what we're listening to pump us up. My friend was getting ready to fight a guy at the club when we were teens. We didn't go to the club listening to go happy music. People singing R&B music. We listened to Little John shoot 'em up. Like Little John and the East Side Boys, that's what we listened to on the way to the club. And so my point is this, rap music is very influential, and you can sit there and say that, oh, it's just music, it's up to you, or we need to have better parenting. But it's just when you have teenagers, young adults, boys whose brains don't, the frontal lobe does not fully develop until the age of 25. They're immature. We see that that's the main reason why our car insurance is super high. We make impulsive and dumb decisions based off of our hormones and testosterone. So if our brains are undeveloped and we're listening to this super influential music, I got these bad, bitches, and I'm making this money, and I can take your girl away from you. Money is going to be our motivator, and we're going to get it however we can because this is how our favorite rapper does it, or that's how he did it. They're getting money. And so, you know, I played a part, like music played a huge part in my life and what I did. I told you I did drive-bys, and, we listened to that music when we go to the club to fight and listen to that music. Like, it gets in your spirit, and you're able to carry out some of these evil things that land us in prison. And some of us are not coming home because of the influential rap music that we listen to today.
Yeah, it's a trip, man. How it really can impact you and just get you in the moment, get you into that way of thinking. Like, and that goes with other songs and stuff too. Like, if you want to be depressed and you listen to sad music, you know what I mean? If you want to be in a, happy mood, you listen to some happy music. That's just the way it is. And it's just, and, you just got to kind of know what you want to be. And I mean, you're really in kind of control, but like, again, like you said, I mean, you got to be mature and grown up enough to understand, what you're doing. And yeah, I mean that's totally true. I mean, I never really thought about it like that until as I got older. And like you said, when you got out of prison, you start listening. I guess you listened to country while you were in prison, which is yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, for me too. Like as I got older and started understanding different things and stuff, I started listening to older music from like the 50s and the 60s, and that's the kind of stuff I like. Different bands. Like just it didn't matter like if it was like African, American music or white groups. It didn't matter. Mexican, like just all kinds of different ones. Like I just love all from the 50s, 60s. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
what a group they are. It sounds nice and just relaxing, and it's just this calming music. And that's what I am. I'm just calm. Don't try to be in an angry or mad mood, man. But
Hmm.
the point is, it's like you're right. It really does control. It can control what kind of state of mind you're going to be in.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of psychology behind music, and if you don't understand it, it can take over. It can take you over. It can take over you. And I'll give you another scenario when athletes. I'll use football because I play football. Right? You have some athletes who will choose to listen to classical music. Why? Because they want to be calm, they want to be at peace, they want to be at rest, that gets them in the mood to go out and perform at their best. And then maybe they may switch it over to hard rock and roll. All right, I got to get pumped up. Okay. And so, same thing with another athlete who may listen to, rap music, and that motivates them. It gets them in their mood, and boom, and man, let's go, we're gonna do that, and it pumps them up. Music is a spiritual thing. And so when you look at the rap music, Sexy Red, what is it, the WAP, when you listen to this music, both men and women, boys and girls, we see it. It's just getting in their spirit.
Mhm.
So it's a
Right.
dangerous thing. It's a dangerous thing. I can go on and on about rap music. Again, I've got a chapter in my book that specifically talks about how rap music is so influential and detrimental to our community.
Yeah. Well, I suppose getting back to you though, like after you had gotten out of prison and you changed your mindset, what was your next steps like as a free man, like getting out? When
Yeah,
I mean, when you knew you were getting out, like when you
yeah.
were getting
So
closer to your release date.
I I spent from 2004 to 2009 in prison. So I did 5 years, day for day, June 12th to June 12th. And while I was in prison, I told you I had this mindset: what can I do to position myself to be, you know, how I can market myself, whether it's employment, just bettering myself. I knew that I wanted to go back to college. I knew I wanted to play football again. I wasn't the same athlete when I came home, although I still had the speed. I just wasn't the same athlete. So I wasn't successful on the football field, to say the least. But before I came home from prison, you would never tell that I was never going to come back. I was bucking the system in prison. I went to ad seg. I was locked down 23 hours in a cell with another guy. I refused to cellie. I kicked him out. I refused to cut my hair. I had lit my cell, my mattress in my cell on fire, and they wouldn't come in. They wouldn't come in. So if that would have went wrong, my whole cell, everything, I smoked up the whole unit, but they wouldn't open up the door. Um, my behavior, it didn't look like I was ready to come home and change and help people. And no, I was fighting almost every. When I was on the 23-hour lockdown before I went to complete ADSEG, like complete aggravated segregation, where they let me out of my cell every other day for 1 hour. But before I went there, I was fighting that guy who stole from me every single day on the rec yard, every day. And the guards would look away, but I think they were kind of watching too. But they would look away, and they never stopped it. They never, reprimanded us or anything. They watched the fight. So I fought this guy, not because I necessarily wanted to, but because I had to, or I was considered a punk. So I fought this guy every day. So you wouldn't, it would just by, looking at me, my behavior, assessing my behavior, you would never tell that I was going to go out and be a square when I came home from prison. So let me say that. Let me say that. But when I did come home, and I was telling my mom and dad, I'd say, "Hey, I'm going to come home. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that." Okay, all right, son. Okay, it sounds good. It sounds good. But thank God I did. I did that. So I came home and I said that not only do I want to be a reformed convicted felon who teaches kids or who helps other people not go down the route that I chose, but I need to have a piece of paper to show that I am trained, I am qualified, and I'm educated to treat this population. I need to go and get a degree. And so I went on and got a bachelor's degree in psychology, and little did I know that means nothing to the world. And so I went on to get a master's degree in clinical psychology, and I became a licensed professional counselor. My goal was to become a PhD, a psychologist, but I started a family and I decided to make money, motivator. I decided to stop there and get my master's degree, become a licensed professional counselor, and just start doing the work at the master's level. And today that's what I do. In 2018, I started my practice. In 2020, I became completely independent, and that's all I service is at-risk youth and young boys and girls who may be struggling with mood and behavioral disorders like I once did.
Yeah, well, that's pretty awesome. And what do you call it?
Minor to major, helping people turn their minor setbacks into major comebacks.
Why that?
Well, I consider it's up to us. I consider my 5 years in prison my minor setback. The work that I do today and what I've done, what I have accomplished. I wrote a book. I'm an author. I've done a lot. Okay, I started two companies. They're doing well, and then the impact that I do in the community that is my major comeback. And so I want to help people turn their minor setbacks, whatever it is for them, I want to turn it into a major comeback.
That's awesome. I got that posted up on my wall actually, just a little paper. I always loved that quote, man. So when I came across yours, I was like, yeah, that's an awesome name that you would call your practice that, because that is a very important thing. And the way that you refer to it, man, it's just that's awesome. And to see that you're working with a lot of people like that, I mean, it is a very important thing to do. So I mean, yeah, you've done a lot, man. You've had such a major comeback, and you still have a lot to achieve, man. You still got a lot more life in you to do, and I mean, anything else you want to say or promote, or any other final thoughts that you have, man, or any future goals you got?
No, I want people to kind of follow my journey. So I will trigger a lot of people with some of the content that I put out there. But on TikTok, it's at Therapy Swagger, Therapy Swagger. You can find me on LinkedIn, or yeah, you can find me at LinkedIn at JereMy Rankins, MA. That is my professional account. Therapy Swagger on TikTok is more of my fun. You can find me on Instagram as well, minor to major TX. I'm not hard to find. If you just Google my name, I'm pretty sure you're going to have it in the show notes or somewhere. Uh, I'm not hard to find. And I made it that way because I need people to find me like yourself so I can create more impact. Impact is more important to me in my life and where I am than anything else. I want to create the impact. So I made it easy for people to find me, hear about my story, learn about my journey. And the other thing that I would like to say is this: those who come home from prison, if this is a loved one, a mother, a wife, a girlfriend who has someone who's locked up, I want you to know that that person who is incarcerated, they don't have to be limited to doing blue collar work. There's nothing wrong with doing blue collar work. There's nothing wrong with it. Driving trucks, I have a CDL, I have hazmat endorsements, like good money. I have so much respect for CDL drivers, so much. Don't sleep on them. It's a good career, good money. Um, but they don't have to be limited to doing blue collar work, mechanic, truck driving, things of that nature. Don't have to. If you want to work in the office, you can. If you want to wear a suit and tie, work on Wall Street, you can. And that is one of the biggest myths about being a convicted felon, that you know your life is over and you can't do certain things. And so let's go ahead and smash that myth right now. Like, I'm a licensed professional counselor. When I came home from prison, I said, I want to have a corner office in a high rise office building. And I had that. And so, actually, I don't like it because the sun beams in, even with my blinds closed, that sun still heats up my office. So don't think a window office is all that good, especially if you live in Texas. It heats up your office for sure.
But you got that office though.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, that's awesome. I appreciate you taking out the time, and everyone, his links will be in the video description. And everyone, I appreciate you watching today's show. Thank you. Thank you all for watching today's podcast with Jeremiah. He's got a great turnaround story. He made a very successful life for himself after he got out of prison. Minor to major. Minor to major is a very great quote, and I think it's awesome that he calls his program that. Please comment any key takeaways that you got from this podcast with Jeremiah. Share this podcast with anyone that you think will enjoy this type of content. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed today's podcast. Hit the notification button if you want to get notified when the next podcast drops. Please be sure to hit subscribe if you want to continue to get more podcasts from me. Also, at the end of this video, a playlist will pop up of all the other Invest in Yourself podcasts I've done in the past. Thank you again so much for watching, and of course, we'll see you on the next one.